Everybody, welcome. We are finally here. It is time. I'm going to reveal, among other things, the pairings for CALLOUS Invitational 3. This is going to be the final video pre-tournament before we get into actual matches, and I just need to go over a number of things real quick. The tournament this year, far and away, more than any other years, has been a team effort. In past years, I've had help with narrating, and of course, sadly, CS did a spreadsheet, not taking anything away from that. But by and large, other than those things, I've run the last two tournaments pretty much by myself. This time, I've had a lot of contributions, and I think it is very, very important for me to make a point to thank the people and give them credit who deserve it. So real quick, just want to go through the list. I've got my staff, sadly CS, who has created both of the videos for the tournament so far and is going to be doing the spreadsheet and is going to be creating thumbnails. Huge thank you to him. My Discord server moderators, KHI, Samuel Best, and Blim, have been making this tournament a lot easier for me and have been keeping things organized. My narration team, Dizno and Jabba, who are both here with me today, they'll be talking in a little bit, and PDC. All three of them are going to be helping with narrations. I also want to thank the players who participated in the play-in matches and put time and effort into trying to get into this tour. That's going to be Altina, Helpona, Melee, X-Ray Troller, Lush Zokaru, Frontloader, Sadly CS again, Finchinator, The Kyle, Bad Dummy, Relish, and Sam Best, who all participated in the play-ins. And then finally, and certainly not least importantly, we have donors who actually gave real money to this tour to bring it up to where it is today. So a huge, huge thank you to Blim, who donated $200, which is ridiculous. I've never asked for or accepted donations for anything in my whole life before, so that's literally the first donation I've ever received. $200 is a ridiculous amount of money. I didn't think I was going to get anything near that from everybody combined. So huge shout out to Blim. The next donor was Wave Shaper, $30. Thank you very much for supporting us. Dizno, who I said is here with us today, came in next with a $50 donation. This next dude, Wiggy Jiggy Jed, is like the coolest username I've ever heard. It always makes me smirk. He came in with a $30 donation. And then there were two more donors after that who wanted to remain anonymous. I'm going to respect their privacy, but I gave them non-identifying names so I can give them credit without violating their anonymity. So we have Anonymous J with $40 and Anonymous K with $60. So a huge, huge, huge thank you to all the donors. I mean it genuinely. This tournament would not be where it is without you guys. Finally, before we get into the meat and potatoes, I just have to let you guys know that in an effort to support this tournament and get the donation pool even higher, I'm going to be offering donation incentives. I'm just going to go over them real quick. I'll have it in the Pokemon Perfect thread for you guys to look over at your leisure. But really quickly, here's the 4 incentives I'm going to be offering. People who donate $20 or more, I will narrate any Gen 3 OU game of your choice. New or old, doesn't matter. As long as it has a working replay, I will narrate it. Let me know if you want me to do the play-by-play or analytical, whatever you want. I'll do it. $40 or more, I'll narrate any game in any tier of your choice to the best of my ability. If you want to stick me with like a little cup game or Gen 6, something I know nothing about, just so you can laugh at me, go ahead. If you want me to do GSC or DPP, go ahead. Whatever you want. For $60, I'll make a video of any Pokemon topic that you want, whether it's a team building video, a video about EVs, about a certain matchup. One of the donors wants me to make a how to beat Baton Pass video. So I'm going to make that, and you guys should be on the lookout for that. And finally, for $80, I will do an entire hour-long Pokemon Talk with CALLOUS video. I'll make 2 other people do it with me, and you will pick the topic. You pick any Pokemon-related topic, and myself and 2 other people will make a video for it. I want to say real quick, the final thing with donations is that with all those incentives, you can only pick one of them. You can't donate, say, $100 and then pick the 20 and the 60. I'm only doing one of them. And also, for obvious reasons, I reserve the right to reject any topic at any time. I'm not going to do something offensive or racist or inappropriate, whatever. Keep it clean, guys. Use common sense. All right. All that out of the way. Let's get into the fun stuff. Before we get into pairings, we are going to go over the results of the player survey. I asked all of the players 5 questions. 28 of them out of the 32 bothered to actually get back to me. So the first question was, I asked the players, which 3 players, other than yourself, do you think are the favorites to win the tournament? I'll just throw that right on over to Jabba. Who do you think were the players that maybe scared the pants off the other players?
Do we have a player list to make our lives easier for this?
Of course we do, man. It's in the participants list, which is in the CALLOUS.
Here we go.
Well,
confirmed.
I was using that as kind of a tie-in. Hey guys, that's in the CALLOUS Invitational Discord server, which you should all join.
Okay, and this is an up-to-date list. These 32.
Yeah, that's the current list. Who do you think scared the crap out of the other competitors and the players that they thought were the favorites?
I would say that certainly Linear Curve, I would say, was probably one of the highest responses. Roro, and I would say rounding out that 3, that most people would probably say maybe M Dragon is what I would put the top 3 at.
How about you, Dizno? Any disagreement with that, or is that your 3 as well?
My 3 was actually slightly different. So at number 1 and number 2, and maybe even I think all in the same category here, realistically would be Lanier, Asta, and Roro, McMegan. I think all 3 of them are on incredible form at the moment. Lanier's just been dominant for the last 2 years. Asta has 2 number 1 alts on ladder. He's number 1 and 2 on ladder, and he's been doing fantastic in tours as well. He's currently in the finals of a master tournament on Pokemon Perfect. And Roro, obviously on Smogon, has been winning huge ADV related tournaments, doing so well with ADV Cup and even Classic as well. So I think those 3 are my 3. They're just so far ahead of the pack for me.
So for this one, I'm going to go over the top 5, actually. I'm going to reveal only 3 for the other ones, but for this particular question, I'm going to reveal the top 5 because I allowed the players to vote 3 times as opposed to just once. So coming in at a tie for 5th place, most feared players in this tournament, the favorites rather, for the tournament. The favorites for the tournament coming in at 5th, we have a 3-way tie between Undisputed, M Dragon, and how about this one? ABR. What do you guys make of that?
Interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
You think maybe there's some recency bias because of his recent run in whatever tournament that was, Classic, where he went through a bunch of ADV people?
There's always a recency bias in people's predictions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much what have you done for us lately mentality.
So how about this?
Yeah.
So how about this one?
Just to touch on that, sorry. ABR, if he's done well recently, I honestly think as well that it's fair to say that he will do well. It's just a basic consistency thing. I'm huge on form as a measure of skill in ADV. How on form is somebody?
Yeah, sometimes someone just has a hot hand and rolls for 3-4 months, can't be stopped.
How about this one, guys? In 4th place, a player that neither of you mentioned. Who do you think it is?
Markup. I think Markup, but yeah, we'll see.
Dizno is correct. The fourth place response that I got, the player that is the favorite, he got 7 votes, is Marco P. And then the top 3 are not a surprise to anybody. I'm not going to try to slow roll you guys because you guys already know. So coming in 3rd place with 13 votes was Roro/McMegan. And then the top 2, one of them got 20 votes, one of them got 19. It was really, really close. But the winner by 1 vote, according to the other players, the favorite to win the tournament, is Linear Curve with 20 votes over Asta with 19 votes. Now that one, I think, is relatively straightforward. If you look at the poll that I opened up to the public, it's those same names on top. This next one and all the other ones, I think, are a little bit more interesting and a little bit more subjective. So the second question that I asked, which player would you be most afraid to get paired against? I thought these answers were fascinating. Who do you guys think the other players dread to get paired against?
And these are different people than the first answer.
No. They can answer the same as the first people, but the first question is, which three players other than yourself do you see as the favorites? The second question was, which player would you be most afraid to get paired against?
I think Markov, honestly, because he uses so much wacky shit. I bet people will put him in that spot as well.
Yeah, I could see if people wanted to give a different answer for that, they would place the wacky people up high, wacky and good at the same time. So you're just going to be off your game. Someone maybe like Dexa. Is that how that's pronounced? How do you guys pronounce that?
Yeah, Dexa. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I don't often pronounce these names out loud. It's kind of like the first time you hear someone say Suicune, and you're like, wait, what?
It's not Suicune?
Yeah. Yeah, I could see someone like him being higher. For similar reasons, I would expect maybe like McMegan to bump up a couple spots, maybe.
Yeah, well, Dexa definitely that's a good shout because like you don't know if he's gonna start like meta jamming your ass or something, and it's just
yeah, exactly. I love his teams. They always come out of left field, and they just roll over you if you're not ready for like meta jam or something.
Well, let me tell you guys have a great read on the situation. You are spot on because combined between Roro and Dexa, 0 votes. So,
does it just play the same? Is it just linear and Asta and Roro?
No, this is a little bit interesting, actually. So, noting that 5 players made a point to be a tough guy and say, I'm not afraid of anybody. I'll beat anybody.
Wait.
Because, of course, they did. 5 people, I ain't scared of shit. Bring on anybody.
I ain't scared.
As far as people who actually answered, so we have a two-way tie. A two-way tie for the third place response. The most feared player, number 3, between Undisputed and Fakes. How do we feel about that?
I can see that.
Yeah.
Undisputed was one of the people that immediately popped to mind in the same boat as Dexa.
Yeah, Fakes is
never liked
one
playing.
too.
I never liked playing him in SPL.
This one, I think, might catch the more casual viewers off guard. I'm not surprised by this at all because I know this player is ridiculously respected among longtime players, among veterans, among guys that have been playing for a long time. This guy, like within the elite ADV community, is one of the most respected players, both for his conduct and for his ability. But the second most common response that I got, the player that you are most afraid to be paired against, is actually Fear.
Okay.
Well, that name checks out.
Yeah, I thought about that when I asked the question. Like, are people being cute and just saying Fear because I phrased it as who are you most afraid to get paired against? But no, I
would not put it past them.
At first, I thought that, but then I started getting a lot of people that responded with Fear.
Wait, hold on though. Fakes, right? You said Fakes was joint number 1.
No. I'm going up. Fakes is tied for number 3 with Undisputed.
Oh, number 3. Okay. Yeah, people aren't they're kind of scared which M Dragon team he's gonna beat them with, is it?
Pretty basically.
Okay, I see. All right.
Fear was number 2, and then you guys were right though. The number 1 player that the other players were most afraid to get paired against was in fact Marco P.
Yeah, that's reasonable. Like he brought a Destiny Bond, Salak Berry, Cacturn, and SBL. He also brought Ursaring and HP Fighting Porygon, I think.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that so much.
That's some scary ass shit.
When I was in my waning years, and I wasn't good anymore, I like to rely on gimmicks. So I would run I would try to do a double pass to sub Blaziken, chaining Zapdos and the Celebi with CMs and Agility, just weird shit like that. because I was watching. Yeah. So sometimes you just gotta
cheese people. Gotta get their reputation back.
So for the third question, I actually flipped it around. Basically the opposite of the previous question. I asked which player would you be most excited to get paired against? What do you think I got for that?
Oh, I do not want to take shots at anybody.
I think M-Dragon's going to be a big one.
I didn't word it, which player do you think is the biggest walkover? I asked which player would you be most
I guarantee that's how people answered it, though. I think they're all lovely players, and I don't think anyone would want to be matched up against any of them.
Aw, what a nice guy, Jabba.
I'm going to bite the bullet here, all right?
Please.
I think people said M-Dragon because they want to slay the giant and get legend status. So they want to fight him when he's retired and he's just come back. He's a bit rusty. People want to take down M-Dragon and get that reputation. I'm going M-Dragon. That's my bet.
All right, so for this question, there were no ties. There was a very clear 1, 2, 3, and basically everybody else only got 1 or 0 votes. It was a very clear 1, 2, 3, clean sweep on this one. Number 3, the player that people would be excited to get paired against was Lanier. People want a shot at the champ and at the quote-quote best player, and I love that mentality about the ADV community, that instead of, just give me the easiest guy, they want to play against the best guy. They want a chance to beat the boss, and I love that mentality. I think that's very healthy.
ADV's full of ballers, man.
Number 2, the second most voted player that people would be excited to play against was M-Dragon. You were correct, Dizno.
All right.
Who's the number 1, boys? And this response was not only the most frequent response, but he won by a pretty decent amount of votes.
Damn, I got no idea.
Same. No clue.
Number 1 by a pretty...
wait, I got it. Ugly Duckling, because he's trash.
That's actually a decent answer, because he's a really nice guy, and he's not gonna John you. He's not gonna screw around. I mean, UD's really cool. That's not a bad answer, but that is...
And he's not good at Pokemon.
Well, that too. But that's not the right answer.
Well, what if he beats you with Mantine, though?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Or fucking Venusaur.
Cannot get past the humility. The number 1 player that the other players would like to get paired against, not necessarily because they think they're going to beat him, just, for whatever reason. Number 1 player the other guys would like to get paired against is Roro by a good amount.
Oh, shit.
So it really was I want to take someone down.
I think so, and then because he's a nice guy.
That is not how I would have answered that question.
Well, he's a nice guy. He just won Classic. He's not going to John you or play games with scheduling or whatever. So I don't know. It makes sense to me. I think that people want to beat the guy. People want to beat the boss, I think.
I never did. I would have 100% identified the weakest player in that pool. That guy.
Well, speaking of the quote-quote weakest player in the pool, that kind of sort of plays into this next question. The next thing that I asked, the 4th question, was... who is your choice for a, air quotes, dark horse or a sleeper pick that you think will do well in the tour? Now, this one is relatively subjective, I think. There's no clear-cut definition of what defines a dark horse or a sleeper pick. So this one's obviously open to personal interpretation, but we do have clear-cut answers here. What do you guys
I think I know who's got number 1. I'm going to say Starmaster, because he's just been... I think he's not given the full... people don't seem to hold him in as high regard as he probably deserves to be held in, because he did so well last year. I think he's going to be number 1 on that list, but I personally would go with Sonny. I think Sonny's at least, top tier in this tournament. I think he's absolutely at the top.
See, this is like a tricky one. How do you define dark horse? Like, Starmaster, for example, made money, made top 3 in this tour last year. Does that count as a dark horse? Maybe for some players it does. Jabba, what do you think?
Well, considering the fact that probably over the past 2 weeks you have said the words, and I quote, I think conflict is going to go a lot farther in this than people think. I bet everyone just followed your lead on that one.
Conflict got literally 0 votes. Nobody listens.
Really?
Nobody listens.
Wow, you have absolutely no pull.
Yeah, nobody listens to me.
Nice one, Jabba.
Nobody listens to me. Here are the actual answers. So, at a tie for 3rd place, and again, these are kind of controversial, but we have Eden's Embrace, and we have Cowboy Dan, which is a weird pick, because Dan won the whole tournament last year.
It's very, very odd.
He literally won every tournament he's been in for the last 2 years, and he still got that status, still got the dark horse status. I'd hate to be Dan so much, man.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Dan,
it's funny because we talked about the issue with the recency bias, but also the advanced community, I think, they have that, and then they pair it with a bias towards names they've known for 5+ years. If you're newer on the scene, you can win literally everything, and you could beat M Dragon 10 times in a row, and they'll still all predict M Dragon to beat you that 11th time.
Yeah, I mean, Dan in particular does not bring attention to himself, is very modest, does not have a loud mouth, does not seek recognition. I mean, he does all the things that would naturally lead to him kind of being in the background as opposed to getting the credit he deserves. It's very awkward to me that the defending champion, the guy who won the whole tour last year, would be a dark horse, but apparently a decent number of people thought that. Like I said, he's going to be tied with Sonny for the number 3 spot. The number 2 spot was not a tie. It was one guy. Again, I don't know if this player counts as a dark horse, but ZF is the number 2.
Okay, interesting.
Number 2 dark horse. See, again, to me, envisioning ZF going really far in this tournament really doesn't take a lot of imagination. That's not a big stretch. I don't view him as a dark horse, but I guess some of the other competitors do. And number 1, all right, you got me, Dizno. Starmaster is the player that was voted as the big dark horse of the tournament to make the big run. And finally, before we get to the pairings, which is why everybody's watching this video, most people are probably just going to skip over this whole part and just get straight to the pairings. No, this one pertains to you guys. I asked the players which guest narrator on my narration team, Dizno, Jabba, and PDC, are you most looking forward to hearing? And I want to tell you guys that everybody got a pretty healthy amount of votes. It wasn't somebody didn't, regardless of the way that it felt.
People actually know me?
Everybody got a healthy amount of votes. Nobody got 2 votes or 3 votes. Everybody got a decent amount. And this one was very, very split and very, very close. But regardless, who do you think the players want to hear?
PDC.
Without
a doubt.
Both PDC and Jabba. The old guys are going to be all Jabba, and I think the big smoke gun guys are all going to be PDC. I think the only people that vote for me will be the latter guys.
Yeah, you guys figured that one out pretty quick. Coming in 3rd, Dizno. Coming in 2nd, JabbaTheGriffin. And at the top, the guy they want to hear the most is our boy PDC. I'm just going to hype the chat up here. It's time, guys. People have been bugging me for the past, 3 days straight about these pairings. I want to point out that nobody, my wife, my friends, anybody in the Pokemon community, nobody has seen these pairings other than myself.
What about Lavos?
Yeah, I mean,
he's Lavos in...
He's a ghost. I was going to say he's a ghost, right? So he's probably seen them from behind me. But I'm going to be revealing these pairings for the very, very first time, guys.
A drum roll?
Yeah, I'm doing them one at a time to really be a jerk. So here is the very, very first pairing. I'm going to just let the chat know.
Damn, this is exciting.
All right, guys, let's react to the first pairing. The defending champion against Lavos.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit, sorry, Lavos. I got Elodin. How did I get those guys confused? My mistake. What do we think about that pairing? Cowboy Dan against Elodin.
Man, Dan's going to be heavily favored in that matchup. No disrespect to Elodin, but... you're looking at the the previous winner of this tournament, and he's coming up against someone who I would say would be on the lower tier of the players in this tournament. No disrespect, I just think that he's not a Gen 3 main, and he's coming up against a guy who's exclusively Gen 3 and has been for years. So that's my outlook on this, I think.
You agree with that prediction, Jabba? Do you think Dan has a big edge in that matchup?
I do. Yes, I think. I don't want to say it's a favorable matchup, but he's that's definitely a good one for him to come out of the gate with.
Yeah, so we're going to have 3 predictions for Dan on the record. I don't think it's the stomp that other people might think that it is. I think Elodin is pretty good. I mean, he's had controversy recently with a ghosting scandal, but that wasn't even in ADV. And Elodin is generally regarded as a pretty solid player just across all gens. I don't think he's better at ADV than Dan. My vote is going to be for Dan. But if it went 2-1 or if the games were close, would I be surprised? I would not.
I don't think there's any matchup where I would be surprised if there was an upset with the skill level of this tournament.
Here is the second pairing. This one I think is interesting. I'd love to hear predictions here. We'll start with Jabba since he knows these guys. They've both been around a long time.
Oh.
Jirachi versus Tamahome.
That's a tough one. I think they're... I would give the edge to Tamahome in this area, having played both of them. Although, actually, I'm not sure if I played Jirachi that much in advance. Back when we would play against each other in SPL, I vaguely recall it being Gen 5, and I feel like he came back, like, kind of backed up into advance. But I definitely give the edge to Tamahome.
Yeah, I think just based on Tamahome's recent performance, he's been in other tiers, like he's main Gen 4 and then he's gone to Gen 7, but he's recently come back and done a big spell in ADV, and he actually, I believe he made the finals of the ADV Cup, so he's very much on form, and for that reason I'm actually going to be giving this I'll be predicting for Tamahome to win this.
All right, boys, we're going to have our first disagreement. I am going to put my money on Mr. Phil Rachi. I think he is an underrated ADV to begin with, and he has just recently come back after a little break from the game. His attitude has changed. He's got a fresh mind. He's been building. He's just very, very focused and very, very motivated, and I think that he's a dangerous player who is not afraid to get creative or use something funky, whereas Tama, I think, is a little bit more traditional. So I am going to go against my boys and say that Jirachi is going to take that match. But I think it's one of the closest ones. I'm really looking forward to watching that one.
Chat's getting salty. They want the next match.
Let them get salty. We're going to go at our own damn pace. All right, here we go. What do we think of this matchup? Marco P against Zomog, one of our play-in players.
I go with Marco P on this one.
I think it's hard not to predict Marco P. I think all 3 of us will agree. I'll just speak for all of us. My question is more, how much of a chance do you give Zomog? How wild is it if Zomog were to defeat Markov? Is that inconceivable, or is there something else to it?
I didn't see the play-in matches. How did he look? Was he playing like a god, or did he just...
Let me pull up the path that he went through. Let's see. He had Altina in the first match, who is a pretty solid ADV, and then he went through Helpona, who looked surprisingly good. I was really impressed with Helpona's play. He's not an ADV main, but he played very well, I thought. And then he beat Zokaru, who's really good for the spot. So, I mean, he went through some guys that could play, but, I mean, he's not an ADV guy. No one's going to pretend that that's his main. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to bet against Markov against really anybody in this tour because he's just been so hot for the past year. I mean, he had the best ADV record in SPL. That's pretty hard to argue with. But I don't know. I don't think the matchup's more than 65-35 maybe. I don't think it's ridiculous to think that Zomog could get him.
I would probably put it more on the 80-20 end, but
Wow.
I think I didn't even mean to fire shots. I think those are good odds in a best of three against someone who's playing at the top of their game.
Give me a number, Dizno, and we'll move on to the next pairing. I say 65-35. Jabba says 80-20. Dizno?
He die?
Did Dizno die?
Sounds like a rip to me.
Oh, no.
Oh, sorry, guys. I was on mute. Apologies.
Oh, boy.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, I was talking and I was like, why are they butting over me? But no, yeah, I got to
don't give a shit what you have to say.
I got to give this one 65-35 markup. I'm going to agree with Callous on that. Like, given Zomog's player quality, I don't think that it's unreasonable to think that he could win. And, it is a game where luck is a factor and whatnot. But, yeah, markup's obviously much more advanced-oriented player, and I think that he's going to have the edge in this one because of that.
Next pairing.
Interesting.
Okay, that's going to be a smoke-on favorite.
TDK against Blightbringer. What do we think of that pairing?
I'm not too familiar with these guys, so I think I'll let you two take this one. I'm not fully sure. I've only seen Blightbringer bring like troll teams on ladder and stuff, so I don't know much about the guys.
Yeah, I think Blightbringer is one of the few players in this that probably came onto the scene, or he was around when I was around, but I think when I was around, he wasn't top tier. Clearly, he is now. So I think that I don't have a hard read on who I think the favorite would be here. Obviously, considering my biases from who I know when I was around, I would say TDK, but that might mean absolutely nothing. I might be completely off, and Blightbringer is just way better these days.
Callous?
I'm gonna bet on Blightbringer, and that one I think couldn't possibly be more than 55-45, whichever way you want to go. I think this is one of the closest and most evenly matched out of the pairings. But I think that Blightbringer is more experienced in the tier. It's hard. I mean, they're both very talented. I might overrate Blightbringer. He's a player that I've always found very underrated and that I think is just better than people know, just better than people realize. And maybe I'll come back to eat those words. TDK is very, very proven outside of ADV. He's a known commodity. But I have a very high opinion of Blightbringer. In the first CALLOUS Invitational, he went pretty far. His two losses in the first one were BKC and Asta. And he went the full 3 games with Asta, and it just came down to 50-50s and crap like that. He easily could have taken him out. And that is the Blightbringer that I know and that I believe in. I think he has a really high ceiling. He's going to be my pick.
Yeah, that sounds promising.
This next pairing is juicy. Ready for this one, boys?
Let's have it.
Go.
Oh,
boy. Now that's the first.
That is a very high quality game right there.
That's the best one we've had so far. That's a hell of a matchup. I have no fucking idea.
And the winner is going to be...
I'm going undisputed. I have an undisputed bias. Every time I played him in via SPL or whatever, he's just been better than me. So I gotta go with him.
I'm actually going to disagree. So I'm going to base this on the fact that Undisputed himself, Kevin S., has said that he does not put as much effort into these tours as he does, say, with SPL, for example, because that's where he tends to put all of his energy into, and this kind of comes at a similar time, and he wants to kind of basically take this one a bit lighter so that SPL, he can focus more on SPL and whatnot, and he likes to, save his teams for that. So I think that he's going to take this one at a slightly more casual rate, and for that reason, I'm going to give it to Star Master, just because he will always try his hardest, and he's been practicing quite a lot for this tour.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Dizno on this one. I think that Star Master cares more about this tour. I think he's going to practice more and give a shit more and put more time in. And I also think that Star Master is better suited for a best of three. Undisputed himself has said that
That's very true.
that he is more of a best of one player, likes to utilize surprise tactics, yada yada. I think that Star is going to give a shit the whole way through, and like I said, is more apt for a best of threes. I mean, that's a heat pairing. I can't wait to see that one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that could go either way.
But if we have to make predictions, I'm going to go with Star. Also because Undisputed has historically struggled in this tournament, but that's not to say that he couldn't go on a big run.
I'm going 60-40 Star.
Yeah, I think that's a good number. And then Jabba's got it the other way, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I go Undisputed just because he's probably one of the few players where I've played that, midway in the game he makes a move where I just end up with my pants around my ankles and I'm like, holy shit, I just got dunked on. He's one of the few players I've had that experience with, and I understand, some pairings, the way they play out don't, especially in advance, don't give room for those kind of moves. So in a best of three, you're right. If we're playing straightforward, we're playing with proven teams, maybe you don't get the chance to just rip someone the way Undy usually does.
By the way, guys, for the record, we already have quite a bit of predictions going on in the CALLOUS Invitational Discord server prediction thread. There's already quite a few people getting involved in who they think is going to win these matchups. So this
I love keeping them waiting. They're so
thirsty.
Oh, they're getting antsy. This next one is I'm very curious what the prediction thread is going to say for this one. We've got a proven veteran who everybody respects versus a player that no one's even fucking heard of. What do we have for this?
Oh boy.
Oh shit.
Soulwind against our buddy Lycomedes.
Man, this is crazy. So Solwyn is just so competent at old gens, say anything from 2 to 5, he's just going to be top tier at against anyone. So it's hard to bet against him, but saying that, Lycomedes is a close friend of mine. He's actually the first friend I had on this site, and I think that he's just a phenomenal player. I mean, he's 3-0 versus BKC in their last matches and stuff. So, I'm going to have to give this one to Lyco.
I love Lyco. I'm going to bet on Soulwind. I mean, do I think it's the stomp that smog on people? I bet you the prediction thread by the end of this is going to be like a 3-to-1 ratio predicting Soulwind. And I don't think it's that kind of a beating. I think people just don't have a clue who Lycomedes is. But
that's fair.
But I'm going to bet on Soulwind. I don't think it's a beating, but I'm going to bet on Soulwind. Jabba.
I'm with you. Soulwind is just solid, and I don't know enough about Lycomedes to say he can beat someone that's just solid.
So far, I'm way off about what the crowd thinks. We've got 7 votes for Soulwind, 5 for Lyco. So maybe, Lyco, among people who do know him, is a total fan favorite. Everybody loves this guy. Everyone loves an underdog story. He's a really nice guy. He's the only person from his country in the tournament, which is Norway. And he's a ladder hero, which people have historically rooted for in this tournament. So it does not surprise me that he has a lot of support behind him, even if he's got a pretty tough round 1 pairing.
Oh, they're all tough.
This one,
there's no easy pairings.
We haven't even gotten to the 2 that I think are the best yet, and that's with us going through Undisputed and Star. But let's check this one out. This one interests me a lot, given the personalities and just the wackiness of both of these fucking players. This could be a match.
Okay. Oh yeah, now that's a good one.
These are guys who will bust out some weird shit. We saw HP Grass wheezing from H-Clat. We've seen, H-Clat's not afraid. He brings troll shit all the time. He's not afraid to put weird sets down. Golden Sun's the same way. He's a wacky Aussie. They're all fucking nuts down there. Offensive Coon, sub-toxic Coon, no problem. Fucking Jolteon, Starmie, Doug Trio, and whatever the other one was, Arrow, just like speed control dot team is a Golden Sun classic. These are guys that both have a lot of balls, and they both have high ceilings too, but they can also both tilt and be fucking garbage. So
Yeah, I agree.
that could be a really entertaining match.
So Golden Sun for me is like one of the most tour ready players ever. He's just a guy who feels no pressure and consistently seems to make the right play. He never seems to make a misplay. He can win games from an unimaginable matchup, and he can finish games, with one man left in this unbelievably ridiculous, unfair matchup. And I just think he's so good at finding the right way to success. I think that he's favored in this game because H-Clat is a wacky ass player. He will bring Jinx, Zangoose core. He will bring all sorts of bullshit. He was talking about Geodude in the interview. He's going to bring all sorts of whack stuff, and I think that Golden Sun, he's the exact type of guy who's not going to be fazed by that. He's just always so tour ready, and I think that he's favored because of that. Just no fear.
Jabba.
I definitely got to go Golden Sun. First of all, he's got some of the most impressive longevity in the game with his consistency. I remember back when I first started, back in 2009, 2010, maybe 2011 at the latest, me and him were playing, Smogon Tour top 8 matches, shit like that. Like we used to get paired up a lot back then, and that man is still going, and he's still as good as he was back then. People like me have lost a couple steps, but he's still good. So I definitely have to go with him.
I'm going to phrase it this way. If it were a ladder game or any kind of casual friendly, my money's going to be on H-Clat. In a tour game, Golden Sun has historically thrived in tours. H-Clat has historically struggled in tours. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Golden Sun.
Yeah, I agree.
Some people just have that mindset where the pressure just doesn't get to them at all. I know I remember playing in some of the big games, and you got the heart beating, and your exercise watch is picking up that you're sprinting. Like.
Yeah, UD, like his smartwatch calling the ambulance and stuff because his blood pressure's getting so high. But like Golden Sun's just not going to feel that pressure. He's the most tour ready player ever.
Yeah, I mean, Golden Sun is extremely, extremely talented, and I don't actually know that he's the better player than H-Clat, so that is me showing a lot of love and respect for H-Clat, who I genuinely think is great. But I think that Golden Sun is the better tour player, and my money's going to be on him. Let me warn the chat for this one.
Oh, is this a big boy?
Oh, damn.
This is.
Yes, let's go.
This is one of the two that I think is the best. One of the best matches of the round.
Oh my God, Roro's favorite player. Yes.
Damn. That's a fucking match right there.
Do tell.
Oh, he did call it.
Yeah, no, he sure did. What do we think about that match, boys?
Dexa called it.
Dexa versus Roro.
Might as well flip a coin.
Well, if Dex's predictions to get that matchup right are as good as his predictions in game with Metacham, man, he's gonna put in some work. But yeah, like coming up against Roro is really tough round one. But it is worth noting to anyone who doesn't know, Dexa is Roro's favorite player. So, man, that's the dream matchup.
I hate predicting Dexa games because in every way, you never know what the fuck you're going to get. You don't know if he's going to run full stall, combine spam hyper offense, balance, something gimmicky, fucking jinx. And like you also don't know with Dexa, is he going to give a shit? Is he 100% hyper focused and motivated and going to smash him? Or is he just going to not give a shit and just load some team from 2015 and say, okay, let's play? Like it's so hard to predict with Dexa.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I think about that matchup. I really don't. Oh, oh God, you guys go first.
All
Give
right,
me.
I'll go first.
Yeah, please.
So, just based on Roro's recent his results in recent tours such as Classic and ADV Cup, I think it's only fair to go for him on this one. I think it's even fair to bring anything up to a 65 or even a 70 in his favor, 70-30.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. Just based on his recent performance and Dex's lack of motivation, but knowing Dex's roof, it's impossible to tell really.
Yeah, Dex's ceiling is obscenely high, but will he use said pairing? Or said ceiling? I don't know. So you've got Roro heavily favored. Do you agree with that, Jabba?
Definitely not. I've played both these guys pretty much a billion times. I think Dexa is straight up my favorite player to play against. I feel like he usually beats me, but he just brings straight fire, and I love it. Even if it sucks ass, it's fun to see. And I think in the same way I was talking about Undy earlier, I think Dexa is a little similar in that I think he's just a good player. Even if he's bringing those janky teams, I feel like he's always looking to outplay. So I think I'm gonna predict him, and obviously you guys have mentioned with him you never know. He could just come in, bring something, and get rolled over by Roro. I mean, obviously, Roro is an amazing player who has consistently won so much shit over the past 5-6 years. But I'm gonna go with Dexa just because I like him. It's a biased opinion at the end of the day, but I'm gonna lock in on it.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I want to be a little pussy bitch and just call it a 50-50, but I know I have to give an answer. It's a cop out to call it a 50-50. I guess I'm gonna predict Dexa, but would I be remotely surprised? Either way, I would not. I think that might be my personal favorite match of the round. That one or one that we haven't gotten to yet, but that one I think is going to be quite the sight to see for the fans. Two of the older, most feared SPL players who have both played SPL at the ADV. I think that's going to be a hell of a match.
Well, I think, guys, you need to take into account Roro's recent performance and where he is right now. I mean, if you look at the predictions, people are giving him 11-3 versus Dexa.
Well, a lot of that's recency bias. Now, granted, there's reason behind recency bias. Sometimes it's correct, but definitely a part of that is that Dexa hasn't done anything in years, whereas Jabba, stop fucking typing. It's so loud.
Sorry, I can't help it.
Whereas Roro just won Classic. All right. All right, how about this one, boys?
Okay.
Cyber Odin versus Asta Matitos.
Man, that is crazy. Well, first of all, it's worth noting that Asta has deleted all of his ADV teams only 3 weeks ago, so he's building everything from scratch.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate when that happens.
Having said that, Cyber Odin has a huge. I'm not a fan of it, and I'm just gonna be honest. I think that his teams are awful. I don't think he's even fit to be in this tour. No disrespect, but I just don't think he's at this level.
Shots fired.
Yeah, pure shots, man. Luckily, he doesn't speak this language, so it's okay. But Asta, man, is like if he brings one Zapdos, it's all over. I've noticed a huge tendency with Cyber Odin's teams to be super Scarm weak or super Zap weak, and if we see that again from him against Asta, it's going to be a very one-sided show.
Well, our prediction thread right now has it as a nail biter. So far, with 15 votes, we have 14 for Asta and 1 for Cyber Odin.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that Odin is a threat to Asta. Don't get me wrong. Do not misinterpret. Asta's the better player. Asta's the favorite in the match. But I think the way that Odin plays might be obnoxious for Asta. I think that Odin uses unconventional stuff, uses surprise value stuff, makes moves that other players would not make, even if they're quote-unquote worse moves. I think they could catch Asta off guard. I think that Asta's a superior player and should win, but if Odin brings the right stuff and catches the right breaks, that's actually one of the matchups that on paper isn't that close, that I think has one of the biggest potentials for upset.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it's worth noting that the prediction thread is 1 in 13, but the first 2 votes for each are done by the person who's actually posting them. So it's actually 12 and 0. Astamatitos has got 12 votes and Cyberon's got 0.
It's actually 1 to 16 right now, so it's 15-0, essentially.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that's fair, honestly.
The other thing is that Asta hasn't actually played serious ADV in a little while. Granted, he's been laddering, and he's at the top of the ladder, both the 1 and the 2 spots, so that counts for more than nothing, but we haven't actually seen Asta in like a CALLOUS Invitational tournament or an SPL, that kind of tournament, in quite some time. So I don't know what we're going to get, but I don't know. I don't think this is the beating that other people seem to think it is. Asta has the edge, but I bet you he doesn't roll over Cyber Odin. I bet you Odin puts up a fight.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess it's fair to say because he is a wacky player and it's always hard to dominate somebody who's just clicking random bullshit.
Jabba, do you think that Asta just absolutely rickrolls him, or do you think Odin puts up a fight?
Yeah, I think Asta will clean this up pretty easily. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to mention. I think the predictions the predictions speak for themselves on this one. Not to say that Cyber Odin isn't good. It's just Asta is one of people's favorites to win the entire thing.
All right, guys, here's the next pairing. I don't know that this one's going to get the hype as a couple of the other ones, but I really like this one for my own personal reasons.
Is it Conflict?
It is Conflict.
I really like both of these players. They're both very creative. They're both not remotely afraid. I mean, like Triangles is a guy who has busted out Machamp and Houndoom and shit like that in SPL. Conflict is very much the same way, both in ADV and GSC. No reservations about busting out a UU or a BL or some funky as hell set. For pure entertainment value, even if these guys are not the 2 best ADV players in the whole pool, for pure entertainment value, this is going to be one of my favorite matches to watch. And I'm going to predict Conflict in a close one.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If you look at his recent performance in ADV, just how he's been laddering a lot. I mean, he's been laddering more than any other player right now. He's just been on the ladder all day long. He's really prepping for this. He's really motivated for ADV. And when a Conflict is motivated, he's always good because at a certain point in time, it could be said that he was pretty much the best in multiple tiers. He was definitely a top guy in multiple tiers, say Gen 2, Gen 3. He could literally have been top of both at a certain time simultaneously. And I think that if he's got that passion reignited, there's no reason to suggest that he wouldn't put in a major performance this tour. And I think that going for Conflict here is not unreasonable at all.
Our prediction thread right now is dead down the middle. Votes are starting to trickle in. It's changing as I'm speaking, but our prediction thread very divided right now on that match, which I think is very fair. Same thing. Undisputed and Star Master is at 9-10 right now. Some of these, like Markov Zomog, is 19-3. Asta's 17-1 on Odin. But some of these other ones, Conflict Triangles being one of them, is really close. Jabba, what do you think on this matchup?
I think it's a really tight one. Triangles is very good, but in my experience, he's struggled a little bit with these types of tournaments. And kind of tends to underperform his skill level. And Conflict, on the other hand, I don't know much about his advanced game. I've obviously mostly know him through his GSC skills. So I would say it's pretty tight. I'm going to give the edge to Triangles, though, at the end of the day. I think, as far as I know, he's the better advanced player. and usually that comes through.
There we go. Disagreement among the three of us here. I like that. That means somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. I can't wait to see that match. This next one, well, let's just post it.
Oh, wow. Damn. I have no idea. So, Sonny is definitely an ADV main. He plays a couple other tiers, but ADV is definitely his number one tier, both in interest and skill. And he's coming up against Jimmy Turtwig. Now, the thing is, like, Jimmy Turtwig is one of the best classic players. He's one of the best old gens players there is. And you can imagine that his ADV is just, through the roof because of that, just because of his skill level and his obvious knowledge of the tier as well. But for me, Sonny, once he gets going, is just as good as any other player. So I'm going to give this one to Sonny.
Jabba?
I would have to agree with the general sentiment of what he said. I would say that's a pretty spot on. I like Sonny better as an advanced player. If we were talking in general, then it could go either way. But I think when we're locked in on advanced, I think Sonny has the edge there.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what was said already. Like, I think if it were a Gen 1 through 5, best of 5, my money's got to be on Jimmy. I think Jimmy is the overall better Pokemon player, but that's irrelevant here. If we're talking strictly ADV, I believe that Sonny's the better player. And granted, with Jimmy, it's so hard to know because it's just not his main. It's not his first or his second tier even. So, like, he's unproven. At some point, talent translates, but it's just really hard to know when someone just doesn't have ADV results and has never tried to have ADV results, what you're going to get. It's hard to not go with the proven commodity. I'm going to go with Sonny. I would not be shocked if Jimmy did a lot better than all of us expected, but yeah, all things considered, I think it's hard not to take Eden's Embrace, who I think is one of the better players in the tour. Oh, the chat's going wild here. They're thinking that M-Dragon and Lanier is going to be a pairing. Well, I'm going to let them keep thinking that because...
Wouldn't that be something? Holy shit.
I'm going to let
Do it, Callous.
I'm going to let him keep thinking that because neither of those players are in this next pairing, so we're going to just keep them wondering. This is what we got for the next pairing.
Oh, man. I have no idea what to make of that.
For those who cannot see the chat right now, let me just say out loud that it is going to be Fear against Passy G. Who wants to go first on that one?
I'll let you take the reins, Jabba, on this one.
All right. Fear's another guy I know back from the extreme olden days. I know him back when he was Team Oblivion Fear. Back when Smogon had clans. UD, by the way, was in... he's going to be really mad at me for not remembering the name of his clan. He always says that I was in it, but I definitely never had that stupid-ass tag on the front of my name. Anyway, Fear, he's great. I'm just going to go with him. Everyone, like they said, was afraid of facing him, and for good reason. I think he's gonna lock this one up.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I think that Fear is he's so good, man. He's really just criminally underrated. Well, not that he's underrated, but I just don't think he's rated high enough, even as it is. And it's hard to rule Passy G out as well because he's one of those guys who rarely ever makes a misplay. He's got some wacky teams, like he'll bring Charizard, Fortress stuff I've seen, but if he can bring some solid shit, I think that he's got a great chance against Fear. It's tough for me to predict this one. I think I'm kind of torn here. I'm going to go half-half. I honestly can't choose a winner.
I'm not capable of being unbiased on this one because I really like and really respect Fear, whereas Passy's just not my favorite human being, but he could play. I mean, I think skill-wise that's going to be close. I would like to see Fear win because I like him as a person better, but I think they can both really play, and I think that's a tough pairing from a strictly playing competitive Pokemon point of view. But if I have to pick, I am gonna go ahead and use my bias toward the guy that I like better, which is Fear. And the prediction thread so far is 8-3, saying Fear is gonna win, but that's very much subject to change. 11 votes is not the be-all, end-all. All right, ready for some big boy pairings. These next two, I think, are going to get the crowd into it.
All right.
Let's just give the chat a heads up. Letting them know what's going on here.
Oh, I'm excited.
This one's gonna be good.
Oh, wow. Dice Lanier.
Dice on Lanier. This is a toughie. What do we... I mean, it's hard to bet against Lanier in any matchup, but I mean, Dice is a dangerous player who can beat anybody, and he's hard to prep for, too, because he can bust out anything.
Worth noting that Dice had a great run last year as well in CALLOUS Invitational 2. I mean, UD was just saying earlier, like, who's getting foddered to Lanier round 1? And I think that's fair, honestly, but, man, this is so tough. I wouldn't like to be Dice, just because of Lanier's obvious wizardry at this game. But, you know, I don't think it's impossible for him to win. So, yeah, I think Lanier's favorite, maybe 60-40, I'd give it.
This is another one where, like, even if we're calling Lanier the favorite, which it's hard not to call Lanier favorite against almost anybody, this is another one that has potential for an upset, for sure. I think Lanier is the favorite. I agree. I give him the edge. He's my prediction. But would I be shocked or even surprised if Dice were to win? No way. Dice is really good, and he's got the kind of creativity and consistency that could absolutely result in upsetting Lanier. Dice is one of the only players in this tour, one of a small handful of players, that is capable of outright outplaying Lanier. Is he going to do that? Can he do that consistently? That's another question. But Dice, on his best game, is one of maybe 5 to 10 people in this tour that can flat out outplay Lanier. And I think that's very, very dangerous. Jabba, any thoughts on that?
I mean, like we've said, there's very few people in this entire tournament that you would even consider picking over Lanier. So I think this is one you just got to go with. You got to go with the man, the myth, the legend, Lanier Curve.
And based on the prediction thread, currently sitting at 3-15, that seems to be what people think as well. Oh boy, okay, this one. This is not my personal favorite pairing. I'm not as excited about this one as I think the crowd is going to be, but this one's obviously going to have some attention.
Okay.
Oh, wow. That's definitely a big game. Damn.
That is huge. I mean, a lot of people picked ABR to run this, right? If I recall our earlier discussion.
He was voted heavily, yeah, and it's going to be ABR against M-Dragon. What do we think about that pairing?
Just like I said about Lanier Curve, there are very few people in this tournament that I would ever pick over M-Dragon. Obviously, like you said, this is a crowd favorite. A lot of people have ABR going far. This is a matchup that makes that very difficult. So I'm going to go with steady M-Dragon on this one.
Yeah, I think M-Dragon's a big favorite on this one. It's like ABR, I'm a big guy on consistency and recency as a measure of skill in a current competition, I guess. So I think ABR's got a huge advantage in that field. Not to say M-Dragon hasn't been playing, but ABR has just been focusing quite a lot on ADV. Saying that, everybody knows what M-Dragon used to be, and I don't think that his hiatus, his little trip away, has made any sort of kind of huge change to what he could be. I think that he could easily come back just as good as he was when he was at his peak. And I think that if you look at his performance in CALLOUS Cup 1, it's not unreasonable to think that M-Dragon could make a good push in this tour. So I'm going to give this one to M-Dragon.
I did not follow a lot of the recent tournaments. As you guys know, I was away from the game for a while, and like even stuff that happened after I came back, like Classic, I didn't really follow. I know that Roro won against Solwind in the finals, but I didn't really follow the tournament super closely. So like for me, even though ABR, I understand, went through a lot of good ADV players in a Smogon tour recently, I don't have the recency bias that other people would have had. So like if you asked me this 6 months ago, I say that Dragon crushes him. You're asking me today, I don't know, I guess ABR got better at ADV, but like I personally have not seen, and this might be my own ignorance, but I personally have not seen ABR do anything special in ADV. I know that he did, I know that it happened, but I did not see it with my own eyes. So
therefore, it did not happen.
Oh, it definitely happened, but
No, it didn't. That's how the world works.
Oh, fair enough.
Man, it's not a foul if the referee didn't see it. You know how it works.
Yeah, so basically I have a hard time in my mind saying that it's not going to be Dragon. If ABR really has gotten really good at ADV and he's going to smash him, then yeah, I guess so. And our prediction thread right now is fairly divided. It's M-Dragon a little bit ahead, but it's fairly divided. But ABR last year didn't do anything special in this tour, and I think Dragon's one of the best ADVs, if not the best of all time. Dragon's my money.
Yeah. Man, this chat is actually spastic right now. Have you guys had a look at the chat?
Oh yeah, no, they've been pretty hyped. I'm gonna give the last two at once. There's no point of only
Makes sense.
There's no point of only giving one because like they already know which four players are remaining. So by giving one, you are essentially giving the other. So we will go over both of the final ones. The last.
Let's see that UD fakes. I need to see it.
We need to see UD fakes.
That's what everybody wants to see.
Okay.
He was the dirty dick.
Well, we could start on the top. We have Charm Flash against the Duckling. What do we think about that? Charm Flash against UD. Charm Flash, of course, being Zamiauto.
Ugly Duckling is probably one of my oldest buddies in the game. It was actually funny. I feel like I've told this story on your talks so many times, but I'm good for the new people out there. So I started playing in probably around 2008, 2009, and Ugly Duckling and me were very close. We played a lot together, and then he just disappeared off the face of the planet, never to be heard from again. And I remember I sent him a couple drunk Facebook messages because we were Facebook friends. And I was like, bro, you got to come back. And he was like, maybe someday. And then that maybe someday actually happened. What was it, 2 years ago now? He just strolled back up and he's like, yeah, I'm playing again now. I think he's an absolute great player. He always has been one of the better players I've played. I've talked to him recently. I know he's having a bit of a rough time. He had a rough World Cup. He doesn't have the hot hand right now, but I still obviously have to take him. A little bit of bias in that one, but there's no way I could ever, pick against him.
Dizno.
Yeah, so I think that UD he's definitely got the. I think people are going to give him the edge in this one just based on the fact that he has got a bigger reputation in ADV. He's obviously been in SBL for years. He's been in the top tier for just so long. He's such a quick pick every SBL. Every manager is just so fast to snap him up. Wasn't as impressive this year. I think this year was his best year. Certainly not as good as last year or a couple of years before that. And in regards to Charm Flash, man, I betted against him versus, I think it was Badummy. I think I said Badummy was a favorite, and he ended up beating Badummy. I'm not going to say that he beat him. I think he beat him pretty fairly. I think he beat him pretty considerably. He made all the right plays and prepped better and whatever. And as an apology to Charm Flash, because I underestimated him quite dearly, I'm going to give him the edge in this one. Just based on some recent performances, I think that he's definitely deserving of my bet here. So I'm going to say 55 Charm Flash, 45 UD.
Wow. I'm shocked, actually. I thought that you guys were both going to be balls deep on UD, but I never would have thought that the prediction would come out this way, but I'm actually going to take Charm Flash as well. UD had a rough World Cup and a rough SPL. He's been cold recently, and UD is my age, 30-ish, and married, and just doesn't play as much anymore. Charm Flash.
And you know our brains slow down as we age.
Yeah, I mean, Charm Flash, on the other hand, plays all the time. He plays literally every day. He had one of the best runs in SPL. He just finished rank 1 in OLT. Now, granted, I know those things are not ADV, but if you believe that rust or recency or any of that matters, I mean, Charm Flash literally plays every day. And he's so in tune and on top of it and sharp, and I just think he's a very talented player too. I think, like, as far as pure Pokemon talent, taking the ADV component out of it, I think Charm Flash is like top 10 in the world. I think he is a brilliant Gen 7 team builder. I think he's one of the elite Gen 7 players, not just in OU, but also in UU. He's one of the best Oras players. I think Charm Flash, if he wants to be good at ADV, is going to be ADV. And I think he's against an opponent who does not care the way that he may have in the past, or maybe is not as invested time-wise as he has been in the past. UD has a very high ceiling. Would I be at all surprised if he beat a play-in player? Of course not. But I think Charm Flash has a pretty good shot in this one, more so than most people are going to think. And for example, our prediction thread right now is 14-3 that UD wins, and I don't feel as confident as those people do.
Yeah, 100%. I think Charm Flash has a much bigger chance of winning that than people think.
Finally, this is a good one. I don't know if it's the feature match of the round when we've got bombs like Dyson, Lanier, M-Dragon, and ABR, Undisputed, and Starmaster. There's some pretty loaded ones, but ZF against Fakes is, I mean, those are two of the top probably 10 guys in the tour. That's a pretty damn strong pairing from two guys who can really, really play Pokemon. What's the prediction on that one?
Okay, so I'll go first. I think ZF had a fantastic performance last SBL. He really started with an absolute... I think he just brought the storm so quickly. He really got into the tour fast, didn't need any warm-up or anything like that. He was very, very quick to perform well, and he was just super competent in multiple tiers. I think that he understands ADV very well. He released a big ADV post sharing a bunch of teams and strategies after SBL. So he's a super motivated player for this tier, and especially this tournament too. I got to give it to him. I think that he's got the advantage here on Fakes, but that's not taking Fakes lightly at all, because I think, again, Fakes is one of the easy snap-ups for a CALLOUS Invitational. He gets invited every year, and for good reason.
Jabba?
I think that, having played these players both quite a bit, I'm gonna lean Fakes a little bit. I think it is a very tight matchup. I think this is one of the tighter ones where you might as well flip a coin. I would give no more than a 55-45 edge to either of these players, and it's probably dependent on my mood who I would even pick. But I think Fakes is more consistent at advance, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, since I've been out for a year or two. But back in my day, if I'm quoting Twist of Fate, Fakes is definitely one of the more solid advanced players. Always gets quick snapped in SPL because what you're getting out of him, and it's a very good player.
Oh boy, I'm the tiebreaker vote here. Again, we got a 1-1 situation. It's hard for me to know how motivated either guy is, because they both kind of keep to themselves and are not attention-seeking loudmouth guys. Neither one spams ladder, so it's really hard to know how much either one plays or cares or whatever. But assuming, and this is not necessarily an accurate assumption, but assuming equal motivation, equal levels of give a shit, my prediction is going to be with Fakes. I think that he is an exceptional pilot. I think that people outside of the elite ADV circle maybe don't realize just how good he is, but within the elite ADV circle, among the older guys, among the Astas, the M-Dragons of the world, they have a very, very high opinion of Fakes, as do I. Whether he builds or not is controversial. A lot of the time he uses other people's teams, but as a pilot, just the way that he actually plays the game, Fakes is exceptionally good. And no disrespect whatsoever to ZF, who I also think is very good. This is one of the tightest pairings. I agree with what was already stated, that it's probably 55-45 at best either way. But if I have to make a call, it's going to be Fakes. All right, guys, that was the last pairing. So the very last question I have before we wrap this up, put you both on the spot, starting with Jabba. I love putting Jabba on the spot.
Thank you.
The winner of CALLOUS Invitational 3 is...
Roro.
Dizno. The winner of CALLOUS Invitational 3 is...
Well, I can't say ADV World Champion Lord Ninjax because he is obviously the Elite Four after this tour will obviously contain him, so he cannot attempt to enter this tour. I will be going for I think it's hard to bet against Lanier. I'm gonna go Lanier.
Yeah, I'm a little more nervous with Lanier after seeing his round 1 pairing, but if I have to pick one player, I'm also going to say Lanier. But I mean, picking one player in a field like this is so difficult to do. There's 10, 15 guys where if they won the whole tour, would you be surprised? Like, none of the three of us said Asta. If Asta won, would you be shocked? Of course not.
Not even gonna blink if Asta wins. Yeah, so possible.
You know what I just realized? I picked someone to win the entire thing that I literally picked to lose round 1. I'm going to stick with it. That way I hedge my bets.
Roro is winning from the losers bracket, guys.
Exactly.
You heard it here first. All right, guys, that's our show. There's going to be a lot of good matchups. The chat seems excited about them. There's a lot of these that I personally, as a fan, am looking forward to. The next time you guys see content from CALLOUS Invitational 3, it's going to be matches. I just want to tell you guys real quick that the tour is still taking donations, as discussed earlier. If you want to donate, talk to me on Discord. Donations are via PayPal. Absolutely, any donation helps me and helps these players because it makes the prize pool go up. The other thing is the CALLOUS Invitational has both an official Discord and an official Pokemon Perfect thread. Those are both going to be in the description. Check those out. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show. And we are all looking forward to some really, really good matches coming up soon. I'll see you guys then.